Hello everyone. Hope you can see my screen and hear my voice. Welcome to the Digital PMO webinar number 2 about the project management process automation via digitization. Please let me know if you have any problems with audio and/or video. I'll monitor my chat, and we have the producer Lisa Lee on the webinar. He would moderate this webinar and let me know if we have any problems. All right, my name, by the way, is Laith Adel. I'm a principal consultant with EPM Partners. Been doing this for probably over 12 years. I implement project management technologies for all different types of sectors and industries. I guess one of the things that I would like to start with is the fact that the project delivery in a portfolio of projects or as individual projects, the way that they are delivered are changing. They have changed and continue to change, and the reasons for this change is really around the technology around us, the digital transformation that has been happening for a while now. But definitely COVID-19 and the working from home type of arrangements has accelerated the digitization in all types of work tools, including the project management, project delivery tools. And then the rise of artificial intelligence and the ability to, instead of being as users of a technology, being an input entity to those technologies, we are being able to interact with it more and to have more, if you'd like, information given to us and actions being performed on our behalf by this artificial intelligence. So with those two things, the digital transformation and the artificial intelligence, it is almost certain that project delivery had to change, and the way we deliver project had to change. So it did, and it continued to do so. Now, obviously, this is something that is not rocket science here, but the 3 touch points or the 3 elements of project delivery has been and will always be, I believe, the process, people, and technology. Process is the ability, or obviously the business process, the methodologies, the frameworks that organizations will put in place, or in fact just the project manager or program manager will put in place in order to manage the project from end to end. And obviously there are these processes can be purely for project management, like, you know, we're talking about a body of knowledge and methodologies or frameworks that are quite popular around the globe, be it the PMI or PMBOK, the Prince2, the new kind of lean agile Scrum, if you'd like. All of these methodologies or frameworks are, if you'd like, ready to go and to be used and utilized almost by those individual organizations. But these usually are customized and configured and influence how people manage projects, but they are not usually adopted as is through experience. But we're not talking about this only. There are other business processes that are linked in that or included in this process. Part of the project delivery could be procurement process, could be resource management process, and so on. There are other business processes integrated into the overall project management methodology or process. Then obviously people, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about people. There's your program managers, project managers, business analysts, even the SMEs who are involved in delivering a project. And then we have technology, and the technology is often called different things: a project management tool, a scheduling tool, a project portfolio management system, whatever you want to call it. So today we're really talking about the marriage between technology and process. How can technology automate the process by digitizing all aspects of it? And this is what we're going to see today. Look, the project delivery, I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but the project delivery from the people who are accountable, responsible, or in fact driving the project delivery are really tasked to do two main things: to make sure that the projects are done correctly. And when I say correctly, they are delivered within time and on budget, and deliver the outcomes and the outputs required for those projects to deliver, is right at the heart of the project delivery discipline in any organization. But also, we are increasingly seeing that it's not only about doing the projects right, it's also about doing the right project. How do we deliver the right things? How do we choose to make sure that the deliverables and the outcomes that those projects are given to the organizations are the right ones that are aligned to the organization needs and requirements? But within the do projects right, there are three elements. I'm not going to talk about the details, but one of those elements is the consistency in the way projects are delivered. So let's talk about, for example, a waterfall project in a. I'll try to avoid IT when I talk waterfall these days, because most IT projects are actually going through iterative way of delivery, unless it's infrastructure. But let's say in the waterfall example here, we have a certain physical asset, construction, type of a capital works, what I guess the term used these days, to deliver a certain physical asset or maintain a physical asset. A very waterfall, you design, you deliver, construct, whatever, and then you close and send the handover. Why is it important to be consistent in delivering this project? Why would we have through a certain process? You design, I don't know, you plan, you deliver, whatever your methodology is. It's basically to make sure, or to ensure, that the project doesn't fail. If we put the right gateways in a process, the right checks and balances, then the activities required to be performed are performed, and they are not missed or they are not neglected. Therefore, we are putting project assurances that the project will be delivered according to what the organization or the business needs. So again, I'm focusing on the consistency here today, and we know, well, I've shared with you my view in terms of why we think consistency is important. It's not bureaucracy for the sake of bureaucracy. It is really those checks and balances to make sure that the project goes through a certain way, or through certain gates, to ensure the project is delivered within the projects right kind of thinking, i.e. is delivered on time, delivered within budget, and delivering the outcomes required from it. Here's a few examples of frameworks or methodologies. Obviously, there's a difference between methodology and framework. I'm not going to go through this philosophical kind of differences right now, but let's say it's a framework for the time being. And this is more a waterfall. What you see here today is not PMBOK, it's not Prince2, it's not nothing. It is what we've seen as a most popular or most generic methodology that you can adopt and then customize to your own requirements. So again, it assumes that there are three T's of projects: a T1, a large or complex project, a T2, and a T3. And it goes through, you start with a concept brief, and then you go to a business case or project brief, depends on the side of your project, where you initiate the project. You prioritize the project, i.e. say, this is going to be done now or later, and then you plan the project, you deliver the project, and you close it. You might also include benefits realization in that framework, debatable, but that's a waterfall type of a framework or methodology. Then you have your hybrid, and again, we use the term hybrid. We don't use agile or scrum or lean or none of those terminology, because we believe that this is the most popular ones, again, from experience. You start as a waterfall, you deliver as iterative, and then you close as a waterfall. This is the IT or business projects usually that related to IT delivered this way. You still initiate, you still might build a business case, you might still plan, but when it comes to delivery, you make this scope basically loose, but you fix the cost and the duration or the effort, and then you produce an iterative approach by either creating sprints or however you want to call them. But again, that's another methodology that we would like to automate. And there's a last one, for example, just pick this one for professional services. People who go through a project to identify an opportunity, give it prepare a proposal or quotation, receive an order, plan it, plan the resources, deliver the actual work, invoice and basically realize the revenue generated. I'm not going to demonstrate all the automation, all three of them. I'll probably just touch on the first two, just as an example. So the idea here is that we would like this to be automated from the idea submission all the way to moving to a business case, to prioritization, to putting a project plan, to executing, to delivery. So the users, the stakeholders, be it the project managers, the business analysts, if you have a PMO or project delivery office, they do not have to go through a manual process. So that's what we mean by digitizing the process and therefore automating it in a way that people don't have to figure out what needs to be done next. So what I'm using today is obviously Microsoft. We specifically using Microsoft Power Platform. Our solution from EPM Partners that is called PMO 365 is built in the Power Platform. I have opened in a number of demo environments, so it's another single situation that I'm showing you here today. The waterfall one, as you can see here, there is an area called pipeline, and there's the area that's called the works. You can set up strategy. You might even, if you are in an IT shop, you might even set your applications. What are the applications that you are managing or supporting? But that's not the point. The point is the automation of this workflow. So how do I go from idea to a concept to a business case to a project, or from a concept to a business as usual activity, or from an idea to a business as usual activity? And then in fact, within the project itself, how do I manage the planning and the delivery of the project, whether it's a waterfall or an iterative project? So I'm not going to go through all of the steps. I'm probably going to show you a couple of those automation and digitization ideas. I've elected to go from business case to project, and then within the project itself to move from one phase to the other. I'll show you a bit of agile automation, and then I'll end up with the actual technical or technology used for this automation and what is it called. So again, I'm using the Power Platform. If you're not familiar with the Power Platform, it is a Microsoft Business Application Platform. It is a low-code, no-code platform to not only produce project portfolio management applications, it is literally can be configured, customized to whatever business application you have in your organization. It can be related to project or procurement or HR or finance or whatever. But specifically, PMO 365, the solution I'm talking about today, is for project portfolio management. So let me start from a business case. Let's say that I want to create a new business case for a new project. And you can potentially think that at that point of time, I don't know whether it's going to go iterative, agile, or waterfall. It doesn't matter at this point. But again, I've skipped if you like, the first two, what we call entities, like ideas and concepts. So I'm just going to go and create a new business case. Obviously, the form itself is completely configurable. I've chosen to use a very simple form, just generic information about the business case and what are the benefits associated with this business case. Very simple, very straightforward. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes just filling out the details and the content of this business case, and we'll show you then the automation of the business process. So the first important thing that we have to note here, that we've digitized the form itself. So again, automation is linked to digitization. I'm going to create a business case. I'm just say that this is for, I don't know, building a new, I don't know, CRM system, let's say. Again, it's IT, but let's not think about it as an IT. And look, I can give it a description, status, initiative status, subsection, and so on. But I have some mandatory fields that I have to put. For example, the portfolio owner. And again, this is specific for this form that you can completely configure and customize. So I'm going to go and put in my name against all of those stakeholders because I want to show you the approval process. Let's say that we're going to start on this date. We want to start on this date, and that's it. I save my business case, and the business case is saved. So we've digitized the business case as a form. Obviously, there are other tabs. I can put the benefits associated with this business case, and the tabs or the form itself is completely customizable and configurable to your requirements. You can put the timelines, the proposed type of skills required, and what have you. You can even attach documents if you have architectural documents, some specific technical documents. All of that digitized into one place. No need for an Excel sheet or a Word document at all. And once I'm ready with my business case and say, look, I'm ready now to push my business case for approval, I start using this, and that is the automation of the process. So let's just spend a couple of minutes here talking about this automation. So I digitize the business case, and I'm automating the business process. So the automation of the business process, not just a nice dot that we'll see here to move us from initiating the business case to getting the business case approved and then converting it to a project, but also built into this business process that we digitize and automated here, all type of business rules. So for example, if the project or the business case budget estimation is for more than $100,000, it will go through different approval process. In fact, the 3 dots that you see here might be different. If it's requested by a certain business unit or business division, the approval process might be, or the business process might be different. The type of the project, the size of it, the risk that introduces to the organization, and so on. All of those parameters can be embedded in the automated business process that we have here. So it's not only just the automation of the approval process itself, but the application of the business rule. Hence, we said that the stakeholders or the users of this technology will not have to remind themselves every time, what should I do when this is the case? When the project, for example, budget is more than $100,000, who should I get it approved by? The tool, the technology will guide us through these business processes that you can configure and customize and change all the time. It's not set in stone. So this is basically guiding me through the process, and it goes, do you want to submit your business case? And I go, yes, I do want to submit my business case. So by doing that, the business rules that we talked about have been applied, and the business case approval request has been sent to the right stakeholders. Now, as you can see here, the business process now is asking me, have you approved this business case? And obviously the answer is something either yes or no. But as a user, as the person who's seeking the approval of the business case, I can't really change this to yes or no. Now, who can change this? It is whoever been picked by the system to be the approver of this business case based on the business rules. And let's say in this case, it was the sponsor. So the sponsor, which in this case will be myself, you can see that I've received an email saying that a business case has been submitted. Please review and take appropriate action. I can obviously click on the link, and that will take me exactly to that interface that we've seen, where I can see all different tabs of the business case. We can put it as read-only, so the approver would not be able to edit the business case information, but only review it and approve it. And as you can see here, the experience is within the email itself using the Microsoft what's so-called automate or flow, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I don't have to go and interact with the system directly, apart from viewing the business case itself. I can approve and reject via the email itself. So I can approve it, and I can give it a reason optionally. Yeah, it's good. And go submit. And the email itself, as you will see, that it has changed into this format. So it is not does not have those 2 buttons anymore, the approve or reject. So we automated the entire process, including the approval process within this platform. So if I go back and refresh my business case, I should see this, as you can see, ticked, and I should see this field yes. So I couldn't change it as a user who submitted the business case, but I can see it as a yes based on the action taken by the approver. Again, in our case, we assume it's the sponsor, and now it is converted to a project. So if I go to the project, I should see a new project called Building a New CRM System into my project list. Let's go there. And if I go, there we go. So that's the new project that has just been created. So now we not only automated the approval process of business case, we actually automated the creation of a new entity, business case, project from a business case. And also was able to move the data associated from one entity, the business case, to this new entity called a project. And you can apply this same thinking on any type of entities. A project plan to a project status report, a risk or an issue to a risk, a task to an assignment. All of that thinking can be applied between any types of entities. But let's go and drill into that particular project that we just created here. It comes with a visual and with the new business process, as you can see here. Now we are going to initiate the project, then we're going to plan it and deliver it and close it and so on. The form obviously is now much bigger, and instead of just a couple of tabs that I've seen in the business case, I have many tabs available for me here, and the tabs will change as I go through the business process. But then again, if I click here, it goes, well, I'm going to guide you through the process again. Now you are a waterfall project. It has been approved by the sponsor. I need you to develop a project plan for me. Have you finished your project plan? And again, I'm not going to go through the details of how is that done. Let's say, yes, I have. And have you identified your risk? Yes, I have. Next stage, and so on. Now, this specific step does not require more than saying yes, but other steps could have more, if you'd like, tests and validation that those activities have been done. But I go through the same process again. It goes, do you want to create, this needs to be approved, your project plan needs to be approved. Again, applying business process or business thinking will do that for us. We'll send it to the right approver, the appropriate approver. They will then approve my project plan, and we move on and so on in the process. So I have another examples of the automation of the business process I'm going to go through, and then we'll go back into how is actually this technically done. So this is one of the, I dare to say, the most popular ones that we've seen, is the ability to create a project item in the financial system. In my case here, I'm using a SAP as my financial system. So the financial system is obviously where a project accounting will happen, i.e. what's the project budget, how much we spent today, what are the actuals, what's the forecast, if you like, and in fact, what we have committed in terms of contracts or what have you, if that's something that you do. So again, it is not an approval process. It is I want someone to create this project for me in SAP. Now that's either someone or directly to SAP. We can actually enable the technology to go and create that ID in SAP directly, or send it to someone to give us an ID. But the same, if you'd like, thinking apply. This is my estimation. I think this is how much we're going to spend on this project, and then it got approved by the sponsor. And now I want to request SAP project ID, and I go next stage. So again, what will happen is that in this case, that the right finance person will receive an email. Again, it's me in this case. I'll show you this in a minute. It goes, can you please create this project in SAP and give me the WBS ID? Now, the reason why we need a WBS ID back into PMO 365 is because we want the actuals and the budgets and the commitments to start flowing into the system, so I can compare it with my own estimations, forecast, whether I'm using a Gantt chart or a resource plan or whatever the case might be. But I would like to see my spend versus my budget versus my commitment and forecasts. Excuse me. So again, the email is quite straightforward. It goes, can you please create an ID in SAP? And in fact, I can put the ID here and submit it. I'm not going to do that, but I'll show you this manually. I'll put it in here. So I received the email. I did do the work in SAP, and then I just give you my WBS ID and go next stage. So that's another example of a business process that might be required and automated within the system. No emails. Well, the email is automated to inform the right stakeholders to do the right action, but in terms of communications and hi, how are you? Can you do this for me? They reply, I don't know what you're talking about, and so on. Or actually, being able to understand what's the next step or how do I actually do it. It's all automated within the system. The third example is the kind of a sprint agile methodology. Now, to be very honest, this is a very, very basic one. The one that is more, if you like, sophisticated and will show more value includes integration with either Azure DevOps or Jira, but we don't have time today to show you that. It probably need a half an hour by itself. But I'll just go with a very simple, again, thinking is that I want to move from sprint number 1 to sprint number 2. Have you produced document 1? Yes. Have you produced document 2? Yes. Whatever those documents are, as you can see, they are very generic, and so on. And then if it's sprint finish sprint 0, sorry, and you sprint 1 on your document 3 and 4 and 5. Obviously, this is a very, very basic demonstration of iterative approach. Imagine that you're sitting here in the execution, the delivery phase of the project. This is kind of automation of the agile methodology or Scrum or whatever the iterative framework is. Now, moving from all of those business processes, I'd like to show you the ability to call the business processes of your choice. So the things that we went through is, if you'd like, executing a certain business process. So when I'm inside the entity, in fact, I have actually one more demonstration before we get into the selection of a business process, and that's the risks. So if I go to and create a new risk in my new project, the building a new CRM system, just going to create a new risk, and let's say the risk is we are, I don't know, delay in technical readiness. It's going to be raised by myself. It's due by that day. Description, this is a risk. Probability unlikely, impact medium. Treatment, I'm gonna actually accept this. Category is will be a schedule to impact. Actions, do this and that. And the action owner is I'm gonna make myself everything. Yep. So I've just created a risk called delay in tech readiness. And another example of a business process automation is the ability to just escalate. So again, no approval. We've seen an approval process. We've seen a checklist process. We've seen a request to create a project ID in the financial system. And also, this one is just a escalation. Just I want someone to take ownership of this. And it's as simple as, I want to escalate this, and you give it a name, who you want to escalate it to. And again, I'm going to use my username just for demonstration purposes. Obviously, hopefully you won't escalate to yourself. Go next stage. And the person who would receive that, again, notification via email, either accept the escalation or not. If they do, go, yes, I'm taking hold of this risk. I'll put me the owner, or I don't know what the actions might be. And then they would action the treatment or the mitigation plans or whatever required in this escalation, and that will be actioned and so on. I'm not going to show you the email, it will be just a repetitive method of what we've seen in the other processes. So again, I've shown you 5 automation enabled in the project portfolio management solution by digitizing all the forms and all the processes. But I'll take it one step further and show you the ability then to select your process. So let's say that on a certain entity, a project, we have an approval process, we have an escalation process, we have a create SAP ID process. So instead of just having one process available, all the detail, if it's this way, you go left and you right, you can actually have them listed here, right? So this is different business process, and the list can, be as long as you want, and it may be, and also it can be limited to the business processes relevant to the certain stage or phase of the project. And then let the user choose what process do you want. So let's say I'm in the planning phase, I might choose a project approval business process. I might choose a create a SAP ID business process. I might choose a project escalation, want attention by different people on this project, whatever the case might be. But whatever the business process that you have in mind that is relevant to this project, I might engage a procurement process. I may be in the execution phase, and I can't, like, this is a project that needs to be delivered by external stakeholders, and I go and say, okay, I'm going to call the procurement process, go to procurement people and an RFT or whatever the case might be. So all of these business processes, think of any potential business process that you might have in the project management methodology, or in fact integrated with it. We can then make it readily available, and we apply the business rules for it to be called by the different users. So that's really the essence of the functionality itself. I do obviously have, want to give you no more than like a couple of minutes to show you how it's actually done technically, because again, using the Power Platform and the technology called Power Automate, or what used to go Microsoft Flow, you don't really have to learn coding. It's not as I said, Power Platform is a low code, no code platform. So the way that you actually do it is very straightforward. And I know that we promised that the last 10 minutes is for Q&A. I'm running behind a bit, but bear with me for no more than 2 minutes. We will open it to Q&A. I just want to show you, this is obviously, I'm not going to build the entire process end to end, but I just want to show you how easy it is to actually create your business process. So first of all, if I go create a new business process, and let's call it, I don't know, procurement. I want to engage procurement to, I don't know, involved in something in the project. And let's call it procurement for, and this is where usually how things happen, procurement for design services, let's say, because it might be different than other. And it goes, choose the entity, okay, against what entity you're going to call this business process. So I'm not going to call it against the project. I'm going to try contract. Contract is not there. I actually don't want it to be against the project because I'll use account. I don't want to mock up my existing workflows because I don't know what I'm going to do here. But there we go. I'm creating a new business process against the entity account. I know account might not make sense, but you might create an entity called contract, or in fact, you can use, by the way, the same entity project. Obviously, that's what you do. But again, I'm just concerned about my demo environment, so I'm not going to mock up my project entity. So that will come then eventually with a visual. It will have steps, it will have conditions, but more than that, it can actually have integration points with other applications. I mentioned SAP as a non-Microsoft application, but also any other Microsoft applications, being Dynamics, be it SharePoint, be it Project Online, be it Planner, and many other applications. So Microsoft and non-Microsoft application can be included in this business process. It's taking a bit of time, I don't know why. Maybe it's a good opportunity to open up. Actually, it's a good opportunity just to revise, which something that I wanted to do, but I didn't, is to set up your expectation of what we're going to actually see today. So apologies that I haven't actually went through this list earlier. But what I wanted to demo, and I hope I ticked all those boxes, are the following. The waterfall process from idea to project planning. Well, we went from business case to project planning. We went from the business case approval process, creating a project in the financial system. And as I said, we took SAP as an example. We've done a risk escalation, and we also looked at an agile or Scrum sprints process. Very basic, very simple, not sophisticated, just to show you it's available for those kind of scenario. But basically now at the point where I want to create and edit the process, and it's taking a lot of time, I want to just refresh it and see what's happening there. Obviously, if I tell you this never happened before, you won't believe me, but well, there you go. So again, look, I'm not going to go through all the details. This is the first step that I have. I can call it whatever I want. So it's called a stage or a step. So let's say this is procurement, I don't know, email officer. You can call it whatever. And then you go, okay, what are you going to do in the steps? I want to email. So email who? And you specify a field, right? So obviously I don't have a procurement officer here. Maybe I have a sponsor. Do I have a sponsor? I don't know. It doesn't seem that I have a sponsor. Oh, because it's a different entity actually. We're talking about an account here, not the project. But look, I'm going to just go use owner for that example. And then I can trigger processes, right? Like as the process I build, I can trigger another ones, and so on. So this is basically I'm emailing the owner. I can select the action. I can add another step. I can add a condition, or I can add a workflow. And in the workflow, then scroll down here. I can then say I'm gonna when you enter the stage email. So if I have an email that ready, I can call that workflow to email that person, and then I can create a new stage. And that stage, after you email them, then update the do this and do that and so on. Look, obviously this is very basic. I'm not being elaborate here, not very detailed demonstration of the processes. I might show you one that already exists. Let's say build life cycle and edit them. So yes, you build your project, or it is against a project. You test it, you go UAT, and so on. That's for an IT project, and then you hand over. And those basically, these stages will be those red circles that we've seen on the actual application. Again, it's not a detailed demo in terms of how you actually build a business process or a flow. It's just that I wanted to show you it is not a coding, write lines. It is using the what's so-called the Power Automate or flow, and it is very visual. It's a no-code, low-code platform. Therefore, obviously, you need to have your understanding of what's a schema of the solution, what is a relationship, how do I call a workflow. So you need to have technical skills. I'm not saying that you don't have to have technical skills, but it's not a development, not coding, if you'd like, type of skills. You might need it between now and then if you have a tricky thing that you want to do. But if it's a simple process, I'm pretty sure that it will be something you can do without needing to involve a developer. So I guess we'll utilize the last 4 or 5 minutes for a Q&A. Now, something had happened to my team today, and I actually can't see the Q&A on my screen. So I might ask Lisa, the moderator, to, okay, actually we have Q&A here. There we go, sorry, I do now. I'm able to see the Q&A. So let me try to ask the question, answer the questions available on the QA session. So Tarun is asking, can we do similar workflow for programs? Absolutely. You can do workflows to whatever entity you want. Program, portfolio, risk, issue, task, BAU you have here. It's absolutely possible. So you just need, you know how I started demoing my very scratchy ability to develop a new business process? The entity that I've chosen was account. I could have easily chosen a program or a portfolio or a project or a BAU. So once the entity is created and it has its own metadata, I can call that entity and run a workflow. If you want to call it a workflow, it's actually a business process, but again, details. And apply to that as an entity. And in fact, you can go further. You can call other entities through these stages themselves. Is it a two-way integration with financial system? It's absolutely two-way. You know, if it's SAP or Tech One or Oracle or Dynamics or any of those popular finance systems, it is definitely technically feasible to have it a two-way integration. However, through experience, as I mentioned earlier, the finance people, so the business barrier here, would not allow applications to talk to their financial system directly. that you just want. That's a business policy. It's I guess the culture or the landscape of those functions in the organization. The financials, the finance people would not allow a technology to enter their finance system directly. Technically, it's definitely possible, but from experience, it's not allowed usually. Can the process heading be customized? Yeah, absolutely. The headings can be customized. The gate names can be customized. As I've showed you, there's a step name. In fact, the entire visual, I've showed you one visual, which is those circles. In the entire visual can be customized. The user interface is something that you completely have control over using another technology within the Power Platform called Power Apps. So it's definitely possible. It will require development skills, not the naming, sorry. The naming of the gates and the headings is completely something you can customize without coding. But if you want to change the visual, it usually would require developers and more people smarter than myself. Those all the questions that I'm seeing on the board, which give us 1 minute left for today's session. If you have any further questions, please feel free to put them on the board right now. Otherwise, I hope that you've enjoyed today's session. It was helpful, it was informative. If you have further questions, anything that you would like to see that you haven't seen today in terms of the automation, or you would like to learn more about PMO 365, please feel free to reach out to us directly. Or via the website, different communication channels these days, but I'm pretty sure that you will be able to contact us. Lisa, the moderator of today's session, will also reach out to you with an email to access the recording of today's session, that to enable you to see it in your own leisure, or in fact forward it to any of your colleagues or anyone in your network. Again, thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I hope you have a good day.